roommate Kyle crossed a line and now our lease feels like a trap. I used to think the worst part about living with a roommate was dirty dishes. I was wrong. The worst part is realizing at 2 a.m. that the person sleeping 10 feet down the hall has crossed a line. You can't uncross and you're legally bound to share a roof with him for 8 more months. Kyle and I weren't best friends. We were split the rent and stay out of each other's way friends. We met through a mutual friend in Chicago. Both mid-20s, both trying to survive the city without moving back in with our parents. He worked in sales. I worked remote in digital marketing. It was practical, affordable, simple. At least it was supposed to be. The first red flag was small. So small I convinced myself it wasn't one. One evening I came home from grabbing drinks with coworkers and noticed my bedroom door slightly ajar. I always close it, not lock it. Just close it. I'm particular like that. Inside nothing looked obviously wrong, but my desk chair was pulled out at an angle and my laptop was slightly shifted. When I asked Kyle if he'd gone in there, he laughed. Yeah, man needed a charger. Hope you don't mind. I did mine. But I shrugged it off next time. Just text me. He rolled his eyes a little. Relax, we're roommates. Not strangers. That sentence stuck with me over the next few weeks. Things got blurry. Food I bought would disappear faster than it should. Not all of it, just enough to make me question myself. My oat milk, a protein bar. Half a frozen pizza if I mentioned it. He'd say, oh yeah, I meant to replace that, but he never did. Then packages started arriving. Opened Amazon boxes left on the kitchen counter. Tape sliced cleanly when I asked. He said he thought they were his. Our names are not even remotely similar. Still, I let it go. I didn't want tension in the apartment. We had a year-long lease conflict felt heavier than inconvenience. But then came the night everything shifted. I had started seeing someone. Her name was Claire. We'd been on 4 dates. It was new but promising. One Friday she came over for dinner. Kyle was home, hovering in the living room with the TV on, but clearly listening to us laugh in the kitchen. At one point, he walked in uninvited and inserted himself into the conversation. So how did you two meet? He asked. Leaning against the counter. Too close to Claire, I answered. He kept looking at her, not in a friendly way. In a lingering way, Claire noticed too. I could see it in how her posture stiffened after she left. I told him straight up, hey man, don't make her uncomfortable. He smirked. She didn't look uncomfortable. That's not the point, he shrugged. You're overthinking it. I wish that had been the worst of it. 2 weeks later, Claire stopped by while I was still at work. She had left her scarf at my place and wanted to grab it before heading out with friends. I told her she could pick it up. Kyle was home, but it would take 2 minutes. I didn't hear from her for hours. When she finally called me, her voice sounded tight. I don't feel okay about what just happened. Apparently when she got there, Kyle let her in and told her I'd stepped out but would be back soon. That was a lie. I was at work and had told him that. He offered her a drink. She declined. He sat way too close on the couch. Then he said, if things don't work out with him, I'm a better option. She laughed awkwardly, thinking it was a joke. He didn't laugh. Instead, he reached out and tucked a strand of her hair behind her ear. She stood up immediately and left. When she told me this, I felt something cold settle in my stomach. I confronted him that night. What the hell were you thinking? I asked. He didn't deny it. He just leaned back in his chair and said, I was being friendly. That's not friendly. That's inappropriate. She didn't seem to mind. She left. He looked annoyed. You're acting like I assaulted her. I stared at him. You crossed the line. That's when his tone changed. It's my apartment too. He said, you don't get to dictate how I talk to people. She's my girlfriend, not yet. He shot back. That's when I realized this wasn't cluelessness. It was intentional. Claire didn't come back after that. She told me she didn't want to feel tense every time she visited. I couldn't blame her. And that's when the apartment started to feel smaller. Kyle began making comments. Little digs. Guess she didn't like you that much. Women like confidence. He'd leave his door open while blasting music at midnight on weekdays. If I asked him to lower it, he'd say it's within city noise ordinance hours. He started locking the thermostat at 78 degrees in the middle of summer because he didn't believe in overusing AC. Then one night I came home and found something that made my chest tight. My bedroom door was closed but locked from the inside. I don't lock it ever. When I finally got it open with a spare key, my drawers had clearly been opened. My journal, yes. I keep one was not where I left it. I walked straight to his room and knocked. He opened it halfway. Were you in my room again? No, my journal was moved. Maybe you forgot I didn't forget. He looked me dead in the eyes and said, prove it. That was the moment I understood what he was doing. He was pushing testing, seeing how much he could get away with. And the lease sign jointly meant I couldn't just kick him out. Breaking it would cost me nearly $4,000. Subletting required his written approval. He had leverage. The tension in that apartment became constant. I started locking my door, installing a small camera, keeping my headphones on even when nothing was playing. Home stopped feeling like home. It felt like a shared cage. I finally spoke to our landlord privately, explained everything, showed him the camera footage I'd captured of Kyle entering my room. While I was gone, the landlord was furious. Turns out Kyle had also been violating guest policies and running short-term rentals out of his room on weekends. Within a month, Kyle was served a lease violation notice. He tried to intimidate me after he found out. You really want to start a war? He said it's not a war. I replied it's consequences. He moved out 2 weeks later. The silence in the apartment after he left was almost unsettling, but it was peaceful. I learned something ugly through all of it. Some people don't cross lines accidentally. They do it slowly, deliberately, to see if you'll doubt yourself enough to let them. And when you share a lease with someone like that, it doesn't just feel inconvenient. It feels like a trap. Traps only work if you stay quiet inside them. I don't anymore.